Welcome back to our series of Let's Build Thumbtalk. In this video, I'll show you how we add a feature to our backend to allow a user to add a post to our social media app called Thumbtalk. Before we start, you'll first need to add these two packages. So you can take this moment and pause the video. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Alrighty, so once you've actually installed these two packages, then the first thing that we'd want to do is actually add like our post controller. So this is going to be our post.controller.ts file. Alrighty, so once we've actually added like our post our controller, what we want to do is actually create our query runner, right, which is going to be coming from our app's data source dot create our query runner, right? And then here we'll just export const our actual function, right? This is going to be our controller function, which is going to be upload a post, right? You can say upload user post. Yeah, we can just say this is an upload user post, and this is going to be async. Alrighty, so the two things that we're going to be accepting over here is our request, right? This is going to come as our request, and we're going to have like our response. Nope, this is response. Alrighty, so we've got our request and response, and we're going to need a try catch block, right? So if anything fails, we're just going to say return our response.status, right? And this is going to be coming from our actual status code, right? And we're going to say this is just an internal server error. Then we're just going to pass in our JSON the actual error, right? Alrighty, so that's if we actually encounter any errors. And then over here, what we'll need to do is actually start our transaction, right? So we'll just say this is a moment where we actually start our transaction. So we'll say await query runner dot start transaction, right? So and then over here we'll just instantiate our actual service, right? So this is going to be from our post service equals to new post service. Okay, we actually haven't created like our actual post service. And then here we'll just say call, so here we'll just say call our service, and yeah, that's it. That's just what we need currently, right? And then obviously in our service we'll want to pass in like our actual query runner, but we'll need to actually create this first, right? Alrighty, so let's go to the next thing, right? Because we can't actually do more, right? We'll come back to this controller. So the next thing that we'd want to do is we'll need like some sort of like DTO, right? So our DTO will be our post.dto.ts, right? Because our actual service function is gonna probably like just accept like a DTO, right? So how we're going to go about this is going to say export class, right? We're going to be exporting our class, which is going to be our post data. No, this is going to be our post DTO, right? And over here, we'll have our user ID, right? Which is coming from a string, right? And then you say image URL, right? Which is coming from a string, which is a string. Right, and then the next thing that we'll need is actually our caption, because we want a user to actually also write out like a caption for whatever they're posting, right? And in our DT over here, we can say this is not empty. This is not empty. We can say that this is not empty, and our caption is optional. Right, so we'll say our caption is actually optional. Okay, that's what we need. So then moving on to another thing that we'll need to also add in is our actual middleware. So the middleware that we're gonna have is actually for handling our image upload, right? So this is gonna be called our upload dot middleware, right, dot ts file, right? So in our upload middleware file, this is what we're gonna have, right? So here we'll just say this is our image store, right? So we'll have like something like image store equals to whatever that word is, right? But we'll need a first import to this. I'm sorry, I just can't pronounce that. So all as mulcher from this package, right? That we actually installed. How do I spell that name? Okay, awesome. So, and then we'll just have like a disk, right? This will say, this is coming from our disk storage, right? And this is an object, and we have like our destination, and which is gonna take in our request, the file, and our callback function, right? So then we just say our callback function will pass in a null, then our file, right? And so we'll pass in our, that's null, right? And our actual uploads, right? So this is just the path to that, right? Which is our destination, right? And then we've got our file name. So we're gonna have like our actual file name, like what the actual file is gonna be that we're gonna store in our actual like destination, right? So over here we'll have this as a function that has a parameter of like our actual request, file, and our callback, right? Then this is just an arrow function. Alrighty. This is supposed to be that, and this is supposed to be an arrow function. Okay, so what are we then doing over here, right? So we probably just want to know how we're gonna actually save like our image, right? So over here we'll just want to say, first and foremost, right, we want to have like our callback function, right? And we'll pass in our now, and then we'll have what our actual name of our image is, right? So we want to prevent users having like some sort of like duplicate names, if I can put it that way, right? So what we can do is actually create like a date now, right? Which is just gonna give it like our actual epoch, right? And that should handle us giving it like unique name for our images, right? And then we'll just add this over here, our actual extension, and extension, right? And where our actual extension is coming from is we'll just create an extension, and then this will be coming from our file dot origin name, right? And then we just say our substring, and then we just say it's coming from file origin name dot last index of dot +1. That's where it starts, and then this will just end at the end of the file, right? Extension. So this will be our extension, and that's just all we need, right? So this is concatenated. Alrighty, so that's just all we need over there. Okay, let me just format this properly. Alrighty, so now we can just export our upload, our constant, and then we'll just say this is our upload, and we'll just call in this Multer, and then we'll just say our storage is set to our image store, right? So this is actually our storage that we've actually this storage we've actually set up over here, right? Okay, then we are done with our actual setup of our upload middleware, right? So moving forward to the next thing that we would probably then wanna create is actually our route, right? So with our actual route, we'll actually come over here in our folder, which is called route, and we'll have a post.routes.ts, right? So once we have that, and the one thing that we'd want to create over here is our export. Want to export our const. No. So we want to export our const post router, right, which is equal to our router, which I assume is coming from Express. Right, and then we're gonna have our post router dot, we'll add our route or route to that, which is gonna be coming from upload. Maybe, yeah, this is just gonna be upload, right? And then this is gonna be a post method, and what we need to first pass in is actually this upload that's coming from our middleware, and we wanna allow a user just to upload one image, right? So we'll just say this is a single upload, and here we'll say what is the name, or how are we actually finding that file, right? And this file is going to be coming as form data, but our actual key that we'll be looking for is actually file, right? And then the next thing that you want to have over here is actually our upload user post. All right, so this upload user post is actually coming from our actual controller that we've actually created over here. Alrighty, so then we are done with setting up like our actual route, and yeah. So moving forward to the next thing is actually now creating our actual service. So with our actual service, we'll come to our service folder and we'll just say post.service.ts, right? These are our user posts. Alrighty, so what we'll need to add over here is our class, which is gonna be export our class, which is post service over here. And then we know over here we're just gonna use like our user repo, right? Which is gonna be a repository, right? And this is gonna be also using our user. So this is gonna be a repository that uses our users table over here, and we're gonna equate it to now, right? And then we're gonna also have like our post repo, which is also like a repository that's taking in our posts, and we'll just set this up to now for now, right? So if you'd like, you can just have this as private and private, right? And then we're going to create like our actual constructor, but in our constructor we'll have a private query runner, right? Query runner, right? In our actual private method, we'll inject our query runner, and that's coming from our query runner. Alrighty, so then after that's done, we'll then try to like instantiate our actual repos, right? So this dot user repo is equal to this dot query runner dot repository dot manager dot, this is manager dot get repository, right? And we'll be passing in our users. Then this dot post, which is equal to this dot query runner dot manager dot, then we get our actual repository that we're going to be using. So this repository is coming from our actual, this is our actual posts. Alrighty, so that's all we need over there. And now we can move forward to actually creating our actual function, right? Or our actual service function, right? So this is going to be an async because we'll want to await some stuff. So we'll just say this is called upload thumbnail, yeah, this is actually allowing a user to upload like our thumbnail, right? So what's gonna happen over here, this is a function that accepts like a post data, which is which is a post DTO, right? And our actual request over here, right? So we can just say this is also a request, but now let me just say this is any, and your, okay, this is not an error function, so that's fine. And that's just all we need currently, right? So over here we'll create like our actual response. So our actual response will be coming from our actual API response, and that's gonna be taking in like a post, right? Which is what we're gonna have in our result. So this is gonna also return like a promise. This is our promise right over here, and it will return our API response, which is gonna then pass in our actual post. Yeah, that's all we need. So this is gonna pass in that. Then let's just return now for now, so that we remove that error. So then we know we need like so this is that, and then we need to equate this. Then we can add some missing stuff, right? So add missing. So our posts, we can set this up to now, and our actual errors to undefined. Alrighty, so now we know that we've actually created like our actual response object. So the first thing that we'd want to do is actually check if this user who's actually trying to make a post actually exists in the system, right? So what we can use is our const.user, right, equals to await, and then this dot from our user repo will try to find to check if this user actually exists. So this is gonna be using like our actual where clause, where this user ID is equal to our post.user ID, and we want to see if like their account is also active. So we'll say is active is set to true. Righty, so that's all we need for that. So what we'll then want to check first and foremost is actually to see if this user, right, this is to actually see if this user exists. So this is what we'll do. Say if this user doesn't exist, then we have an error, right? So we'll just say this is from our response dot error, and this is equal to our message, and then here we'll say cannot post for a user that does not exist. Alrighty, then our next thing that we want to do is pass in like our status. So our actual status code will be a bad request. Alrighty, so that's just what we need. Then we'll just return our response. So once we've got that out and working, so if our user doesn't exist, then we want to actually return that error. And then the next thing that we'd want to do is actually now get our actual image that we actually are going to post, right? Get that in our actual database. So in our DTO, which is our post data dot, we'll just say our image URL that we're gonna have is gonna come from our actual file that we've created on our actual middleware for uploading an image. Okay, so what we actually do is this request.file name, right? So we get the file name over here, and then we'll create our actual post, and then we'll just use this plain to class, function, right? So this plain to class function will do is actually we're trying to convert like our actual DTO, which is our post DTO, to our post entity, right? So what we're actually trying to do is saying we want to convert this to our post entity, but what we're passing is our post data, right? So this post data, which is coming from our actual DTO, right? So now this is gonna be our post. So if we also like, we can also do it like that, right? Okay, alrighty. So that one is done. So now we can just say const res, right? And that we can just say, now we say await this dot post repo we want to save, right? So what we want to save is our actual post. Alrighty. So since we want to save like our actual post, so and then what we want to do is because we know that before we even save this image, our middleware would have actually saved the image that's coming in from our form data, right? But we want to handle it so case that if our actual saving to our DB fails, then we actually delete the image that's actually being stored. Alrighty, so how are we going to do that? So how we do it is we'll say catch any error that you get and actually unlink that, right? So what we'll actually then need is this over here. So just have this and copy it, right? So this is gonna say we're requiring like to use like our file system promisify, right? And then in our promisify we just then, which is a promisify which is coming from our utils, right? And then over here to create this unlinking async, we just need this promisify and passing in our file that we actually unlinking, right? Okay, so what we'll then do over here is await unlink async. So we'll await our unlink async, and then from our request, what we wanna then get is our actual path to our actual file, right? So this is we get by request.file.path, right? Alrighty, and then over here we'll just return our response, right? But now you see over here that it's gonna complain about this await, right? And you'd ask yourself, why is it complaining? Because this function also has like already has an async, but what's actually happening over here is because now we are actually wrapped up in this try catch, right? So what it's actually doing, it's actually checking within the scope. So what we need over here is to pass like an async to remove that error, right? And another thing is then this is to check if anything passes, right? So if this is successful, this will go in our then, but if this actual save fails, it will actually go to our catch section. So in our then, the only thing we'd want to do over here is say response dot result, right, equals to our actual post, right, which is coming from what we actually want to save, and then we'll just return response. Alrighty. Yeah, that's all that we need over here. And because both of these, the then and the catch is actually returning something, then we can just return this res, right? Alrighty, I guess that's just all we need currently, right? So now the next thing that we will then want to do is actually come here to our actual index file, right? And then we'll just want to add like our actual path to using that endpoint. So this is going to be our post, right? And then our post will also use a post router. So this is coming from our post router. So this is going to be a use that from there. Alrighty, but we know that we didn't actually complete our actual controller. So now we can go back to our controller and actually add in stuff that we actually missed. First and foremost, what we actually missed over there was our actual service. Right. So what we'll then have to then do is actually come over here and actually import our actual service. Hence you can see it's imported. And then now we want to actually call our function, but we want to first get the data that's coming in from our request, right? So over here we'll get like our post data, which is going to be coming from our plane, right? And that's post DTO. And what we're getting over here is this dot parse request dot body dot data, right? So the reason why we're parsing this is that because we're going to be parsing this in form data, so we're actually going to stringify like our actual data, right, which is our data object. So when it actually comes in this request, we want to first actually pass that, actually convert that to an object. So that's why we use this JSON dot parse, and then we add our stringified data over there. And then the next thing we'd want to do is then say create like a const response, and our response will say await, right? And then this is coming from our post service dot upload thumbnail. It's crazy because we first called it upload user upload user post, and now we're saying upload thumbnail. I know it's a bit confusing, but yeah. Alrighty, so then we're just gonna pass in this post data and our actual request. Okay, so then we'll have like an if check that says our actual response. If our actual response has an error, then we just wanna return response dot status, right? And that's coming from an HTTP. So if it actually has like an error, so we would want this to come from our actual response dot error dot status, right? And then this is gonna come in from our JSON response dot error, right? So that's how we're actually going to be getting our error. And then else, what we want to do is, if everything runs successfully, we want to commit to this transaction, actually doing the save in our DB, right? So this is the benefits of actually using transaction. If something fails, we just don't commit those changes, right? So what we can do is query runner dot commit, right? So this is actually where we actually commit our actual changes. So then we'll return our response.status, right? Or we can just say response.json. And over here, we'll just have like our response.result, because that's the only thing we want to return back to the user. Okay, I guess that's just it that we need, right? So now what we can do is actually run npm start. I don't know if this is gonna work, but let's hope that everything runs smoothly, right? So we can see that it's actually starting up everything for us, right? Let's see if it's actually gonna console log something. Okay, so the reason why it's actually crashing is because we need to start up like our actual Docker container from our actual Docker desktop. So yeah, let's just wait for that to actually open up. We can close this, and we can close our Discord, can close these settings, and yeah, let's hope that actually opens up quick. Right, so can just kill this, clear, and let's see if this is actually gonna run. This is actually a bit slow. I don't know. Maybe I've got a bad PC. Maybe you guys need to add some donations and so I can get a better machine, right? Alrighty, so we're just gonna start up with this Docker container over here, which contains like our Postgres DB, right? Oh, Postgres instance, right? So this is gonna be run start, npm run start, and let's actually see what happens. I know like some things are gonna change up a bit. Let's see, but let's actually see what we have. So over here, then we already have like this endpoint, right, set up. So now it's just a matter of testing it out. So what we're passing in here is actually our file, right? And our actual data, right? So how are we gonna go about doing this, right? So we say the caption is gonna be test, and let's post this over here. And we actually get like an error, right? So this error is a 404, meaning that we cannot actually find that route. So let's go to routes, post, and this is upload, right? This is upload, and in our middleware, this is going to our uploads. And here, over here in our index file, we are actually saying this is our post. I think, did I save this? I don't think I saved this. Okay, let's just close everything and actually see if everything is saved. So let's just try that request again and actually see what actually goes on. Alrighty, so let's try it out again. So this says there is no such file as that. Right? So that this is actually complaining. Alrighty. Let's see what's actually happening. Let's see. Uploads. So it says there is no such file as that. What's actually happening? Alrighty, so if we actually have to check this out, right? So we'll just say constant. Alrighty, coders. So I just had to take a moment to pause the video and actually find what the bug was. And so we were finding this issue when we tried to like upload the image and we were getting like an error. And this was caused by how we were actually like locating like the path to the folder, right? So what we just needed to do is just say uploads, right? And that will target like our uploads folder, right? That's just the only thing. That's the nice thing about being a developer is like you try to just solve problems every time. But now if we were to now submit this over there, and then you'll see we get a 200 status code and our actual response. So another thing that we can now do is go to pgadmin and actually see the data that we have like in our actual Postgres database. Now that might take a bit of some time. I don't know why I didn't actually open that before time, right? But I'll probably try to pause that. Okay, that was a bit quick. Okay, let's go get the password for our actual database. Okay. Okay, so if I come over here, which is data source, where's my data source? This is my data source. Obviously, you'd want to put this in like a .env, right? So that it's not in your source code. but this is still fine. So if I add this over here, now I can open all my database, right? Come to schemas, tables, and I'll just run a query, right, for getting all my posts. So over here, you'll see that I do actually have like posts and stuff like that. So if I were to actually try to add something else, right, to this and add a new caption and say maybe this, okay, no. This is supposed to be, this is to test the upload and actually run that post, and you will see that it actually successfully posts that. And if I were to run this again, you'll see that this data is being saved in my database. So with all that being said, if you're new to the channel and you actually like this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, peace.